Hey, everybody, it's Evan Grant from the Dallas Morning News and dallasnews.com. Happy to be with you today from, well, I'm in Walnut Creek, California, where I've never been before, but I'm staying on the East Bay for this big series with the A's. And then I'll move into the city because why should I just make it easy on myself and stay in one hotel for a week when I can always make it more challenging? But I will go into the city for the Rangers' big series against San Francisco. Bruce Bochy's return to San Francisco. That should be interesting this weekend, but weekend's a long way away. As I record this, it's Tuesday, and got a few things to talk about. Obviously, the big news of the weekend was not good. Josh Jung fractured his left thumb, is having surgery in all likelihood on Wednesday, will be lost for 6 weeks approximately. Means he will return hopefully to the Rangers lineup with about 2 weeks left to go in the regular season. Also means Rangers are now going to have to shuffle around and cover up for another missing all-star. They've done a good job in Jonah Heim's absence. It took a couple of days for Mitch Garver to get in a groove, but he had 3 hits in the win over Oakland last night. Has hit the ball with authority since he's been playing pretty much every day and playing behind the plate regularly. And it is a testament to the Rangers' depth. They covered that depth pretty well when Corey Seager was out at shortstop with Ezekiel Duran. And that is going to be the situation that they probably turn to in the absence of Josh Jung. The difference here now is Duran has played a lot of shortstop already this year, and he's probably, even though it surprised me, and I think it has surprised some of the Rangers personnel, he's been a really good defensive shortstop. Third base is not as familiar to him. He's played 4 games there this year. Actually, he's played 1 game there this year. Josh Smith, I believe, has played 4 games. Those were the only games that hadn't been started by Josh Jung. But again, Duran, and to a lesser extent Smith, because Smith just isn't quite the same offensive player, but he certainly is versatile in terms of playing defensive positions. Give the Rangers real depth to try and wade through a significant injury. That's a big factor for this team, how deep they have been. And how they have covered for the number of injuries they've had. If you're keeping track at home, and I'm sure you're not, that's 4 All-Stars the Rangers have sent to the injured list at some point in time since the All-Star break. That is not a sustainable pace. Either you run out of All-Stars or you eventually run out of your lead in the AL West. And so the Rangers would like to try not to test that theory. But what they will do at third base is they will likely play Ezekiel Duran. I think he will get the bulk of playing time. I think there will be certain right-handed pitchers against whom Josh Smith will start. Last night, Monday night, key situation. Duran got the start against a lefty. Smith was on the bench. Oakland went to a reliever in the 7th inning, a right-handed reliever, Danny Jimenez. And the Rangers got into a situation where they had runners at first and second, nobody out. Perfect situation for a bunt. Josh Smith probably, well, he leads the team in sacrifice bunts for whatever that's worth with 2. The bunt is not a big part of Bruce Bochy's repertoire. He's not a big fan of it. But he asked Ezekiel Duran to bunt there. Duran has been in something of an offensive slump. And so he stayed in and he bunted against the right-handed pitcher, got the bunt down, proved key. It scored, well, it didn't score, but it moved Jonathan Ornelas, who had come in as a pinch runner to make his major league debut from second base to third base. And Ornelas will figure in the third base mix as well. I think that he is considered the best defender in the Rangers minor league, was the best defender in the Rangers minor league system. was the defender of the year in the organization for 2022. And so he will give the Rangers some options if they feel like they want to protect the lead and they want to go defense first at third base, even though Ornelas has spent most of his time this year playing at shortstop. Really, the guys who are going to fill in at third base have not spent much time at third base at all this year. That's the one kind of worrisome element for me. Ornelas had 4 starts at third at AAA Round Rock. As I mentioned, Smith had 4 in the big leagues, and Duran had 1. So basically, Josh Jung had been an everyday player for the Rangers, and they hadn't had to worry too much about it, and now they are. And so, look, these are just the hard facts that teams deal with over the course of a 162 game season. You'd hope that you don't get injuries at all, or you hope that you'd be able to spread them out a little bit more and manage them a little bit better. But as I mentioned in my print column this morning, Houston went without Jose Altuve and Yordan Alvarez for about 3 weeks in July, and what they did is they went 9-6. They survived. That stretch included winning 2 out of 3 against the Rangers, and so the Rangers have no choice but to keep winning. They've done a good job here in August. They've won 7 straight to start the month. Built their AL West lead back out to 3 games, but it's not going to get any easier. This stretch of 7 straight wins, they played a White Sox team that has got more fight in its clubhouse amongst teammates than on the field. They played a Marlins team that seems to have peaked and is going backwards, and now they're playing Oakland, the worst team in the major leagues. So they have taken advantage. They've won, as I record this, they've won 7 straight, and there is every opportunity for them to extend that. But that's what they're going to need to do. They're going to need to win the games that they have to win, and the season doesn't get any easier. The Rangers have, as I calculate, well, using Tankathon.com, your one source stop shopping for NBA draft lottery odds and strength of schedule in many sports. The Rangers had the 12th easiest remaining schedule over their final 50 games going into last night. The Astros had the 8th easiest schedule. So the Astros have supposedly an easier road right now than the Rangers do. And the Rangers have no choice but to buckle up and continue to play well. One thing that has gone well for the Rangers, and I do want to talk about, is in August, look, they've played some teams, as I mentioned, that are not great and not going anywhere. They're also aggressive at the plate, but the Rangers have pitched well. They have seemed to have gotten things back in order with the additions to the rotation. Max Scherzer and Jordan Montgomery. But most importantly for me, perhaps, is the work of how a settled, solidified back end of the bullpen seems to be doing. You know, you take the quartet of Josh Sborz, who seems to be over whatever the tendonitis issue was that was bothering him in July. The recently acquired Chris Stratton, 2 guys who are your right-handed options in the middle / setup roles, 6th and 7th innings. Add Aroldis Chapman, who is pretty much pitching the 8th, and Will Smith, who is pitching 9th. And those guys have combined to allow 2 runs, really on a Will Smith home run, in a game in which he entered with a 3-run lead, in 16 2/3 innings in August. They walked just 3 and struck out 22. So it has been an impressive start to the stretch run for what was this club's weakest link all year. If the Rangers don't beat themselves, and if Sborz continues to run off the kind of success he had in May and June, it makes things a lot easier. It also makes things easier, look, when your pitching staff is once again giving you quality. Your rotation is giving you quality starts. In August, the Rangers have gone at least 6 innings from the starter. Well, every starter has pitched into the 6th inning. 5 of the 7 have at least completed the 6th inning. John Gray went 5 1/3. Andrew Heaney went 5 2/3, scoreless the other day. So what you're doing is you're taking out the weaker elements of the bullpen, the more inconsistent relievers. And that's where the Rangers' problem has been all year. It's why they've lost so many games in which they led going to the 6th and the 7th, and why this bullpen needed to be addressed. I will say this, you go back, I thought John Daniels did a really good job when he was GM of putting together bullpens on the fly. I think he and I occasionally disagreed on how much to invest in bullpens at the start of the season. But I think you kind of have to evolve over the season with your relievers. You can lay out the best plans. One injury or one guy in a fickle organism having a poor season can just wreck the entire bullpen. And so you've got to figure out some of that chemistry, some of those pieces, some of that, the workload. And it's certainly got to work with the starting pitching as well. But my point in all of this is I think sometimes it takes time for that to develop. It requires some natural sifting through tantalizing spring training arms. I'll give you an example. Jonathan Hernandez was tantalizing in spring training, did not pitch well in the regular season. Josh Sborz was not good in spring training, has pitched well in the regular season. It is unpredictable. But what I think the Rangers have gotten now is they have, as you get closer to the end of the season and you distill things down, now you've got a rotation that you feel once again is stable after some injuries, and you're hoping that Nathan Eovaldi will be back before the end of August. And he played catch on Monday to about 100 feet, according to Bruce Bochy. Don't know when he'll get back on the mound and test the elbow. But the hope is still that he would be back before September 1st. When you get stability in the rotation and you can fortify the bullpen, it makes winning games, I don't want to say easier, but it certainly makes the idea of competing and doing what is expected more realistic. My God, me and words, they just don't seem to go together very well today. Maybe it's because I'm on the West Coast, maybe because I'm looking at a beautiful vista outside of my room as I send this to you. The Walnut Creek area is very nice. The hills are alive with the sound of, I don't know what. I'm not going to break into Julie Anders here. But yeah, it's pretty out here. It's warm. Get down towards the bay. It gets a little bit cooler, and it will be cool in Oakland tonight. It will be cold in San Francisco over the weekend. And so that's your weather report. Anyway, I don't want to ramble too much today. I feel like I take up so much of your time with just wasted space. But what I can kind of report to you here is at the trade deadline, the Rangers did what they needed to do. They fortified this rotation and bullpen. They got some guys healthy. Yes, they've absorbed some injuries here, and those are significant injuries. The Jonah Heim injury is significant. Losing Josh Jung for 6 weeks is significant, and in a lot of ways heartbreaking for him and for the club. This is a kid who has done nothing but hit when he's been healthy. The unfortunate part is he just hasn't been healthy enough. This is 3 straight years with some kind of surgical procedure for Josh. There was the foot in 20. The foot in 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. 21. There was the shoulder in 22, and now the thumb in 23. It's just really bad luck and unfortunate for him. But you've got to withstand these injuries, and so far, so good. And that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's got to go out and match Josh Jung homer for homer. On nights, it's going to mean a guy like Ezekiel Duran gets a bunt down, a pinch runner like Jonathan Ornelas, fresh up from the minor leagues, gets himself to third base, and then gets a great jump on a Travis Jankowski chopper that doesn't even get through a drawn-in infield. The Rangers manufactured runs in the seventh inning to win that game, and it was only the fifth time this year they've won a game in which they had gone to the seventh either tied or trailing. So again, they showed some new wrinkles last night, and that's what a team has to do when so much of its traditional or so many traditional sources of offense are out of the lineup. All right, anyway, that's going to wrap it up for us today. I hope this was a little bit more brief, or a little bit, I don't know, I'd like to say I hope it was a little bit more organized. It's not. I'm sorry. I really am. I want to do better for you. And I'm going to try. Before the end of the season, we're going to get in at least one good This Week in Rangers baseball, y'all. It's probably not going to be this week because I'm done. But we'll try again next week. Until then, see ya. This is good video.